everything that you do is focused towards addressing just your challenges, you become defined by those challenges. Those challenges become who you are. But if your energies are focused towards your opportunities, then the opportunities define you. So if there's something wrong with you as an individual, or there's something wrong with your corporation, and that's all you're thinking about fixing, then that's what you're going to become, trying to fix a problem. But if you focus on the opportunities, you are going to become the opportunities that you seek. The status quo is usually where the challenges lie. But the opportunity is usually in the future. So challenging the status quo is actually looking ahead. Now I know that we come from a continent that is called Africa. And when we think Africa, what we think about is the challenges. We think about the problems. We think about the lack of infrastructure. We think poverty. We think power failure. We think corruption. We think conflict. We think about all of those things. And that is how we have been defined in the last 50 years, in the last 60 years. But what if we could change the narrative? What if the narrative could be different? You know, I saw in our group conversations, I saw the struggle within us for us to be able to go beyond obvious realities. That we are too often stuck with the challenge, stuck with the fact that, yeah, corruption is a way of life and so we will deal with it. Or stuck with the fact that we cannot imagine the continent being one where we have good infrastructure, or one in which every child that is born has access to good quality education and healthcare. Unless we can free ourselves from the shackles or the burdens of these challenges and imagine and dream of a continent that is different, one in which everybody has access to that good quality education, unless we can imagine it, it's never going to happen. And I've waited 40 years for the road to the little village that I come from, Osing, in Cameroon, to be tied. And I don't have another 40 years to wait. And we've waited so many years for the good leaders, the ones that are not corrupt, the ones that can look beyond nepotism and tribalism to come. And I've waited 40 years and they haven't come. And I do not have another 40 years to wait. And for those of you that are young and see yourself as young and think that the future is far away, the future is going to come upon you before you know it. You do not have 20 years to wait. And unless this generation, like my generation, is going to be approaching 50 and hoping that another generation is going to find a better Africa, unless you start now, then you will be 50 and hoping that you had 20 years to fix the continent of Africa. But you do not have 20 years. This is the time, and the time is the time that you make it. If you make up this time the time where there will be transformation, then there will be transformation. But if we wait for somebody else to do it, if we wait for another generation to do this, we will wait for another generation, and that generation will wait for another generation. Transformation doesn't happen by accident. It's been said, in my own lifetime, I've seen the country of Korea go from a country that was dependent on aid to one that is giving aid. So it can happen in a lifetime. We've seen and heard the story of Singapore and the transformation that it's had. we are experiencing and living the story of Rwanda and the transformation that is having. And I hope that that becomes a beacon of hope on this continent, that we can set our minds to things and make them happen. Now I know that you all came here with a business idea and a business initiative. And here I am telling you that it's more than just a business idea. I'm telling you that your responsibility goes beyond your pockets. That your responsibility goes beyond putting a shelter over your head and food on the table for yourself and your family. For what will it mean that you live in a glass tower and all around you is poverty and suffering? We only embrace the burden when we do that. So your responsibility is not just to yourself. I hate to break this to you, because you have stood up. You have identified yourself as a leader. You have identified yourself as somebody that can find solutions to the complex challenges of our time. And yes, maybe you were doing that with the selfish intention of just feeding yourself, but now I hope you realize that you have embraced great responsibility. And I know that what I'm telling you to do is not easy, but I also know that it has to be done. And we can choose to go down the easy path. And the easy path is to focus on each one of us, the individual. Take care of myself and my family. That's the easy path. Everybody can do that. But as I look into your eyes, I see that you will not choose the easy path. But we will choose the difficult path, yes, because it is difficult, but because it is necessary, because it is what needs to be done for light to come upon this continent that has been labeled dark, for the richness of the continent to shine and be shared across not only the continent itself, but across the world, for us to find our place, the birthplace of civilization. That civilization will return to where it was born. And that responsibility, unfortunately, or should I say, fortunately, depends on us. So, in the past, in 2016, we met in Nairobi, and we started a simple idea. That idea has really been evolving, and even as an individual, has shaped my thoughts, and probably will even shape my future. This idea was a simple idea that the delegates, we came together and we started something called I Am Africa. This is a campaign that I always travel and carry with me. Sometimes I see people in airports and I give them and ask them to take a photo of themselves. But Africa is essentially what we are talking about. That the future of this continent is my responsibility. That I accept and assume that responsibility. Whatever is good of Africa is me. Whatever is bad of Africa is me. What needs to be made right has to be made right by me. And I'm assuming that you all will say the same of yourselves. So I am Africa. My name is Ari Obenson. Thank you very much.